Hey y'all, this is Elle Pick Madame. I hope y'all have been having a wonderful week and that your weekend is starting off on a wonderful note. So, as you can see by the title, I'm going to be doing a recap review of the Netflix TV show, movie rather, Uncorked. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I don't know about nobody else, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Um, I was pleasantly surprised, to be honest. I really was, because I actually put it on kind of as background noise while I was eating my lunch one day after work. And I was just like, oh, let me continue watching this. I literally sat up here and just continued to watch it. And I was like, yes, Lord. So, the three people that I know offhand in this movie are, of course, Niecy Nash, who plays the mother, Courtney B. Vance, who plays the father, and just in case you don't know who he is, if I'm not mistaken now, he is Angela Bassett's husband. And the last person, his name in real life is Matt McGorry, and I first really remember him from being in Orange is the New Black as the dude, you know, the not security guard, the CO, the correctional officer that Daria was screwing and got pregnant by and all that stuff. Yeah. And y'all know currently he was on How to Get Away with Murder as Asher Millstone. But yeah, I know the three of them. I don't think I know of these other people that are in this movie, but I definitely have seen all these other people for years on end. So yeah. Um, y'all, I was pleasantly surprised. This was a good movie for me. I could not believe it. I sat there and watched it, and it was like right under 2 hours. Really good movie to me. So let me just get into it and tell y'all what the movie's about. So overall, the movie is about this guy named Elijah who is kind of being pressured into taking over the family business, which is something that was passed down to his father by his grandfather. And his father is trying to groom him to take over the business, which is a barbecue business in Memphis, Tennessee. See, his daddy's name is Lewis, and his mama's name is Sylvia. Cool. Now, they do well, but the thing is, that's not Elijah's calling. That is not what he feels like he's supposed to do in his life. And he kind of like goes along to get along, in all honesty. But him and his daddy don't really be on the same page most of the time, and I think it's sad, but I get it. I just wish there was another way for them to come together, but his daddy is dead set on him, learning the business. And it's just got to the point where he is just so over his son. And I get it, because in the past he's had dreams and aspirations of doing other things, and he was the type of person that he'll see something shiny and he's like, oh, let me go over here and play with that. And then it didn't last long. So, of course, his father is always going to feel a way about it. So I get that. So anyway, y'all, let me, give y'all a little bit of, what's going on in this. Okay, y'all. So Elijah is very, very much so interested in becoming a sommelier. And I'm probably saying it wrong, but I apologize in advance if I am. So the gist of what a sommelier is someone who can identify a wine by looking at it, tasting it, smelling it, like all of that, without even having to have the bottle in front of them to read off what it is. I'm talking about to the point of the kind of barrel it had been sitting in, all of that. They can tell you what kind of oak it was or what kind of wood it was. They can tell you the different fruits in it. They could tell you anything that is in it. All I'm talking about, it is ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Like, I was seeing the process. I was like, wait a minute. I mean, they could tell you where it was. They could tell you where the grapes came from. They could tell you the region it was in. The year, literally down to the year that it is without reading the bottle. Do you hear me? It is very, stuff like that. Stuff like this is very interesting to me. And I know I'm weird and geeky and all that stuff. I know that. I already know that. But look, this was a very interesting movie to me. So yeah, this is what he wants to do. He actually works between the family business at the barbecue place and an actual wine place. Like literally this place I think only sells wine. And so while he's doing that, he'll finish, like, he literally like stocks. So one day he was in there stocking wine, and these two girls come in, and she rolls up on him and was like, I want some wine. I'm trying to figure out what I need to get. Just some random wine. She wasn't really looking for nothing like all like that. But he was like, oh, okay. And, he kind of compared wine to rap and hip hop. He was like, do you like Jay-Z? And so he was like, well, this wine right here is like the Jay-Z of wine. And he's like putting Jay-Z like up here, and then, it's just like depending on what you like, he was kind of trying to compare it to certain rappers or whatever so that she could understand what it meant. Because, most people don't know nothing about wine. I know I don't. I just know red, white, Merlot, all that. Like, I know what some of the, terminology is or whatever, but I ain't gonna sit up here and lie like I know what it means. I know I don't. So you could tell that there was a definite vibe, but he wasn't really catching it. You know how some people don't catch that somebody is here for them, and it's like somebody else got to come tell them, or the person themselves has to kind of push them? That's what happened with them. But it didn't happen upon their first meeting, and, he had to tell her, like, well, this person can ring you up, and then it went on about their business. So, like I said, later on in the movie, they actually end up linking up. So, before we even get to that, what he would do is he would finish at the wine place, and then he would just come straight to work at the family business. He'll put on his apron and his gloves and go straight on the line and start chopping up the barbecue and making the pork pool sandwiches, all that stuff, saucing it up, doing all that stuff. His daddy be in his feelings all the time. He'll be looking at him like, you just not getting here, where have you been, and all this, knowing good and well that he is at the wine place. His daddy ain't here for it. He feels as though his son is wasting time and he needs to just fully learn the family business. The son is not here for that. That is not his passion. But his daddy don't want to hear it because as far as his father is concerned, every time you look up, everything he does, he never finishes it. He'll be interested one minute, and then the next minute it's just out the door. It's like, why are you trying to make it seem like you're interested in something that you're not? No. So his father's not taking this seriously either. So one day he's at the wine place, and that girl returns, and she was like, I want you to kind of explain to me more about the wine that I purchased. So she's kind of making it more obvious that she was here for him or whatever. But he wasn't catching it at first. And then he finally started catching it because he'd mentioned to the guy, hey, let's do a wine. We're doing a wine club. Why don't we introduce this into the wine club? Because normally he just sends out reds and whites. And he was like, I feel like we should send out different reds, not just the same ones. And, he's trying to switch it up to kind of make the wine club a lot more interesting. And old boy was like, look, do what you want to do. Because he's like at that point where you could tell that he can retire at any moment. He's older than him. He's probably old enough to be Elijah's father. So it's like, he looking at him like, do what you do. It don't matter to me. But he sees his potential, and he really does appreciate his actual appreciation for wine. So it's funny because when he was talking to old girl, she was like, well, tell me more about this wine club. Because he was like, oh, well, if you do this, and this, you'll get certain things for free, and you'll do this. And she was like, oh, well, that sounds interesting. So it seems as though I need to give you my email address and my phone number and all these other things. And so he was like, yes, definitely. You definitely need to give me your phone number because, I need to make sure that, you've gotten all your information. I'm just like, okay. So he finally was picking up what she was putting down. So I was like, finally, sir, finally. But it was still cute. I like stuff like that. Stuff like that is so cute to me. So they eventually become an item, even though he didn't know it yet. for some reason. I don't know why some people are clueless about what's going on. But anyway, y'all, the never-ending feud is still going on between him and his father, and he's not taking him seriously as far as that business is concerned. And I'm just like, Lord, sir. Anyway, Niecy Nash's character is in remission. She had cancer, and she beat it. Cool. So she, you know, of course, seems to always be the mediator between the two of them. And there are, is at least one other sibling. He has a sister. And I'm confused as to whether or not this other person is a cousin, a brother, or whatever. But he definitely has a sister, and I think her name is Brenda. So she can't cook. She can't do nothing. They had dinner one time, and she made this ambrosia salad. Y'all, I don't know what it is. I think the look of it makes me not even want it, even though I know what's in it. But it's like, I'm just like, nah, I can't do it. And well, nobody else here for it. They had the dinner, and she was like, so is nobody going to eat my ambrosia salad? And like, I cannot. Everybody was just like, what we not finna do with that? So Elijah and his father are always at odds, like I said. And another time when they were at dinner, he, you know, let them know how serious he was about the wine industry and that he wanted to actually take this test. So there's this test that you have to take to get into the school. So you get 3 tries to take this test. And then if you get into the school, you do what you do in the school, and then eventually you go on to take this other test. That is this major test. It's a master test. And if you don't pass it on the first try, you have to wait an entire year before you can take it again. You cannot sit for that test again. So that's daunting. I would be very on edge if that were me. So yeah. The guy who he works for, he feels as though he's ready for that. And he was like, well, you know, I can, you know, write up a recommendation and a letter and all that stuff for you if you really are serious about that test. So, you know, he thought about it, you know, and, you know, he was kind of on the fence because he knows how important the family business is to his father. And he was just like, I'll think about it. I'll let you know. So, y'all excuse me for a minute. So everything always goes back and forth with his father. His father wanted to take him along for him to get like wood chips. But as you already know, he has a smoker. He has a smoker out back. And some of the stuff that he, you know, cooks, you have to cook it overnight. So by the time the business opens, it is in the pit doing what it needs to do. So he has this vendor that he goes and gets his wood from. And, you know, he wanted his son to come with him to various places that deal with the business. As far as that is concerned, he don't be here for it. And one time he didn't go because he wanted to go to this mixer. And this mixer was, you know, very informative. He got to try a lot of wines that, of course, are not in Memphis, Tennessee, which is where, you know, this story is taking place. And he went back immediately and told his boss at the wine place, like, look, man, they had all these different wines. And, you know, he's talking all that lingo as far as what it is concerned for the wines that only people who are sommeliers would understand, which I don't understand. I forgot if I mentioned to y'all what a sommelier is. I think I did. But yeah, that man was just like, oh, okay, that's cool and all, but okay. Like, he ain't, it's like, it's not like he's not here for it, but he's just like, it just is what it is. Do what you want to do. It's cool if you want to implement that stuff. I ain't, you know, jumping out of my socks to try to do none of this stuff, so. But yeah, y'all, another dinner happened, right? While he's already in school, he actually did pass that first test, which was amazing. So he's now in school. So he already told his daddy off rip, look, you ain't got to worry about nothing. This isn't going to affect me working here. So I'm like, how you going to be in school and working 2 jobs? I don't know why I said that. Like, I haven't done that myself. But, yeah. he was barely making it. And I think he was coming in just a little bit later than he was before. And his dad was looking at him sideways like, all right, now you said this was not going to affect your work performance. So anyway, there's this guy in there who I already told y'all about, who was on How to Get Away with Murder and all that stuff. And he is so great when it comes to this stuff that he kind of like really challenges him. And it's like, he's cocky with it. It's like, he kind of can't help it. And it's like, you can't deny it. He's amazing. So he pulled him to the side one day and was like, yeah, man, I already know how it is. You already know that I challenge you, so we should just team up. Because he was already cool with like 2 other people in there. And so he was like, nah, man, I'm good. So it just got to a point where he was just like, look, I can help you. You know what I'm saying? We would be a better force if we actually work together. So just stop. So now they become a foursome. And they study together, they hang out together. Eventually an opportunity came up where their sister school in Paris had it where, you know, if you could afford it, because they was not going to fit the bill, that you could come out there and study for like 3 to 6 months, I think. 9 months maybe at the most. 3, 6, or 9 months, y'all. And you would get all this experience and all of this knowledge. You would get extra teachings. And that was amazing. And I'm like, wow. Ain't nobody, the first thing, as soon as they said, I'm like, who got the money? Because y'all ain't coming up off of nothing. Y'all didn't offer up nobody no scholarship. Y'all didn't offer up no stipend. What is you talking about? I would feel as though they should have been like, okay, for the top 5 students in this class, if you want it, we'll provide a stipend. You know what I'm saying? For you to go. And the expenses would be paid. You wouldn't have to pay for food. Room and board would be paid, whatever. No, everybody had to come up off money on their own. So I'm like, this isn't a deal, because little do a lot of people understand. When it came to this school, he didn't have no FAFSA. He didn't have none of this. So he had to go into his savings from the money that he'd been making from his jobs to pay for this course to begin with. So for him to pay for these classes, he had to come out of pocket. His parents ain't pay for it. Cool. So now he got to come out of pocket again to go live in Paris and go to these classes. And it's like, how am I do that? I really want this experience, but I can't pay for it. So he didn't say nothing to the friends about it. But he was just like, I don't think I'm going to be able to go. And everybody in their feelings. So the dude who he was, you know, kind of at odds with, he was like, look, let's go outside to get some fresh air. So they talked, and he was like, look, man, what's going on with you? You know, and he was like, man, I can't afford this. I already came out of pocket for this class. I'm not going to be able to afford to go over there. I know it's a great opportunity, but I'm not going to be able to afford it. And so he was like, well, don't your family have a business? He was like, yeah, they have a business, but they ain't got no money like that. They ain't making money like that. So I can't rely on them for that. So he was like, look, I got a proposition for you. How about we go half on expenses over there? So that would break down to $5,000. So they would split the bills for the place they were going to live in and all that stuff. Cool. So, you know, he was like, I'll think about it. Okay, cool. I'm leaning toward yes. So one time when they were at dinner, meaning Elijah and his family, they were at dinner talking. The daddy got in his feelings again. He stayed in his feelings, y'all. I was so tired. I'm like, when you gonna ever get out your feelings? When? So he just really was like going hard that night. Like he was shading every single thing Elijah said, and it just got to the point. And he was like, well, I'm going to Paris. And the mama was like, what you mean you going to Paris? He was like, my school, the sister school we have in Paris, they are, you know, allowing us to have classes out there. And I got to go out there. And I was thinking about it, but I got to go half. And the mama was like, nah, if my baby gonna go out there, my baby gonna go out there not with half of it. You gonna go out there with all the money you need. So they went about trying to raise money or whatever. And ultimately they ended up with like almost $4,000 for him, which is great. But he had to go into his account and get the rest of the money. But he was still able to go half with the old boy. So they are in Paris. They're enjoying everything. The classes are amazing. His mama ends up getting cancer again, and it's really, really bad. She didn't tell him what was going on, and she was like, I don't want him to know what's going on. The dad is still in his feelings. He was like, yeah, okay, well, whatever. He'll be all right. Like, I'm just like, why would you say it here? That, like, you could just tell that he is so salty because this child does not want to be a part of the family business. And I'm like, why are you mad? Why are you mad? It's like, I'm saying why you mad. I get why, but it's like you can't force somebody to do what you ended up doing. And ultimately, it was something that you didn't even really want to do like that. Y'all. So his mama going all the way through over here in the United States of America in Memphis, Tennessee, while he out there in Paris living it up in these classes trying to become a sommelier. So money was getting low, but he was calling to check on the mama. And I'm talking about before he left, they gave him a going away party. It was so bad that daddy didn't want to talk to him. He went out to his shed and started working on random stuff. And it was just to the point where the daddy wouldn't even hardly say nothing to him. So the son was like, this is really going to be the last words between us? He was like, what you talking about? Ain't no last words. You acting like you going off to the military or something. Like, I was just like, oh my God. Like, he really was trying to pick a fight with him at any point about anything. And I'm just like, Lord. Y'all, so like I said, he went off to Paris. All this stuff is going on back home. She's going through chemotherapy, all this stuff. Ain't nothing working. He is unaware of any of this stuff that's going on. He didn't call home, and before he called home this one time, old boy approached him and was like, yeah, so I gotta let you know something. My daddy has me working somewhere, so I'm gonna have to leave here. And basically the same situation he was in. His daddy set him up at this job, and he was just like, you could tell it's not what he want to do, but it's like, my daddy said I gotta do it, so I gotta leave. And he was like, wait a minute, what you talking about? He was basically like, I'm about to leave like soon. And he was like, how am I gonna cover expenses out here? And so he was like, man, I'm sorry. All he could say was that he was sorry. And I'm like, Lord, what you mean? And it's like $1,000 or something, I think, just for him to stay where he was staying. I can't. So he in his feelings, and so he trying to figure out what he gonna do. He out there, he in classes all the time. So where he gonna get this extra money from? Can't ask his parents. So he called his mama, and his daddy had the phone. They actually were at the hospital or wherever the treatment center was, where she was actually getting her dialysis and chemotherapy, all that stuff. And he had the phone at the time, and so he was like, I thought this was mom's phone. I thought I called mom. And y'all, he was just like, look, I was just calling to check on her. I'll call back later. He was like, oh, okay, hung up the phone. So she found out about it, and she was like, oh, well, I hope he'll call back or whatever. Y'all, that relationship is so strained. Anyway, y'all, the mama went all the way through and died. Old boy is over there in Paris, and this guy who either is his brother or his cousin called him and was like, man, I need to talk to you. He was like, man, I can't really talk right now. He was like, it's your mom. So then as soon as he said, I said, man, his mama gone. She got to be, because she was looking rough then. She was going all the way through. So, y'all, they had the funeral. He had to fly back home to attend the funeral. The sister was in her feelings. I already told y'all before, she can't cook. She ended up making this monkey bread or something. Or monkey bread or some other bread. I forgot what it is. That the mom would make it. She was like, well, hopefully it's okay. I know it's something that she would want here and all this other stuff. Like, she was just talking. You could just tell that she was in that part of you know, grieving and all that was where you just talking and it's like you're just anxious. And I was like, Lord, she need to go in a corner and cry, Lord. Go in a room or in a closet and cry, because you could just tell like it was just bottled up. And she was just trying to put all of her focus in cooking, baking, staying busy and all that stuff. And I get that, but it was just a lot for her to process. You could tell he hadn't really grieved his mama either. And the daddy was already in his feelings about the son. Then she passed away. He was planning on actually taking her to Vegas. That was someplace she always wanted to go. So they were trying to make a certain amount of money, I think that year, so that he could take her to Vegas. So of course that didn't pan out because she passed away. So the funeral happened, and it was just so, oof. I'm talking about everybody left. They putting food away as leftovers. And he over here, the son Elijah's out over here. He's like putting away, like, I guess it was potato salad, putting it away in a container. And the daddy, he put some away next to him. Like, there were barely any words exchanged. And I was just like, oh my gosh. This is the time when y'all are really supposed to come together. I was so tired in my spirit, y'all. So anyway, after all that was over, he was still trying to go to school. And before all that happened, before the mama passed away, she did talk to him on the phone, and she was so excited because when he first got there, he was sending pictures of himself next to all of these buildings, very historic buildings and all of that, and it was cool. But even though he did not ask for money, she ended up sending him $1,500. So the father got a notification, and the bank called him, or he called the bank. No, they called him. And eventually they were like, we just wanted to make sure that you authorized this amount. And he was like, no, I ain't authorized no amount. Where is it at? What you talking about? What was the authorization to? And he was like, oh, it's to an account someplace in Paris or whatever. So he rolled up on the wife and was like, why are you sending him this money? He asked you for that money, didn't you? And so she was like, no, I could tell he needed the money, but he wasn't going to ask me. He did not ask me for the money. I sent it to him because you know he needed it. I know he needed it. So I sent it to him. So I'm like, Lord, you're getting into it with your wife because your son ain't there. And then now you're getting into it with your wife over the son. And it's just, he even had to read her. He was like, man, you can't be sitting up here playing the cancer card because I'm in here having an argument with you or whatever. And I'm like, well, it is what it is. So y'all, it got to the point where he could not concentrate while he was out there. He went to the dean, I guess, or whoever you go to, where they, as far as what they do. And he was like, I need to withdraw from school. And he was like, you're doing so well, are you sure? And he was like, yeah, I don't think I can do it. And he was like, I understand that, you know, it must be hard because you have lost a loved one during a time like this. But you do realize if you drop out now that you have to completely start all the way over from scratch and all this other stuff. And he was like, yes, I understand. So they ended up drawing up the paperwork. He's completely out. He actually went home, was doing everything with the family business. Daddy didn't even know he was back like that. So one day he rolled up. He trying to understand what's going on. He just sat up here. He out there at the smoke pit early in the morning. And as a part of the father's daily routine, you got to get up really early in the morning before the sun rise, all of that, to get the smoke pit going. So he over there putting the stuff in, and so he was like, what you doing here? He was like, oh, I'm just, I figured I'd help you out. And he was like, do you want me to stop? You want to do it? He was like, no, my back hurt. No, I don't want to bend down and do nothing that hurt my back that's already messed up. And I was just like, okay, you're going to be petty even in this moment when your son helping you. Alrighty then. So, I mean, he just would pop up and just do all kinds of stuff at the restaurant. He was doing stuff with the books. He was on the line more. He was actually volunteering to go to these various places that you have to go if you are part of the business, like really close and have hands on with behind the scenes as far as things that are needed for the business. So he was like, well, the last time you tried to get me to go, I didn't go. So he asked him if he wanted him to go. And he was like, sure. So I ended up going with him. And, the daddy is like very shocked that he's there and he's doing everything with the business. Y'all, it got to a point where the daddy was like, what's going on with that other stuff? He was like, oh, no, I dropped out and all this other stuff. And it's like the daddy kind of finally saw the light and was like, no. what you gonna do is this. So he incorporated the family business with the wine stuff. So he was sitting down having tests with him, and he was like, what would you pair with this barbecue right here? Or what would you pair with this sausage link right here? And he was going over stuff, and he was going over like legit stuff that they would have to test for. And I thought he was ready for the test. He went in, he took to go take that major test. He ended up failing, y'all. So like I told y'all before, if you fail that big major test, you have to wait a whole year. So I was like, wow. I just knew he was going to pass, because you know how most movies and TV shows do it. They end up on top in the end. No. So, he was, the dad was sad about it. Of course, the son was sad about it. And one day he went out with the girlfriend, and they went to this restaurant, and he had just recently lost, well, not lost, you know what I'm saying. He ended up not passing that test, and the guy was telling him about the different wines that they have, and he saw that pin on him. They have a certain pin that you wear if you are a sommelier. And it's like something went through his mind, and he was just like, Y'all, apparently he waited that 1 year, and he actually went back, and he was doing everything he needed to do to prepare for that test. And that's how the movie ended. I thought that was so cool. Like, he did not give up on his dream, even though he was going to have to wait a whole year just to even test for it again. So he was just in the classes doing all this other stuff again. So I was like, okay, look at you. And now you have the support. And I hate that the mother died. It's like the mama had to die for the son and the father to get on decent terms and speaking terms. Because at first it was kind of like out of mutual respect to be like, hey, Dad, how you doing? And then eventually he goes into his rant about how you need to be in the family business. And you got to act like you're interested, and then just get to the point where you have a backbone and say, I don't want anything to do with this. But they are on good terms now. I just hate the fact that the mama had to die for them to come together. That was so crazy. But anyway, hopefully y'all enjoyed this recap review of the movie Uncorked that is actually streaming right now on Netflix. I enjoyed it. Hopefully y'all didn't think it was boring or whatever. Hopefully if you haven't seen it, it might be something that would spark your interest, and you might want to watch it as well. So thank you so much for watching. I hope y'all have a nice one, and I'll see y'all later. Bye.